It's time to start pumping up our item levels again. 11.1 is live. Season 2 is kicking off next week, which means we can start to get those item levels up. You can actually start some of that this week. 11.1 Season 2 efficient gearing for solo and group players. Here we go. It's level 678. My God, we're going to approach 1,000 by the end of this expansion. Here we go. Let's see how we can get our item levels up.
Hey, it's Sol with another video, and today I present to you the ultimate gearing guide for Season 2 of The War Within.
For the record, I'm telling people to level Bran, okay? I see people in the chat talk about how I didn't level Bran in Season 1. Yes, level Bran. That's important. I agree.
Whether you're a solo player or doing hardcore progression, I've got a course laid out for you for focused, stress-free gearing with limited distractions. To help assist me is this poster-sized chart detailing how most everything
Christ.
works.
Oh my God. Degeneracy in its charted form. Of course, World of Warcraft players would make something like this. My God, Gilded Crest. Okay, this is how we're going to get all the crests. Holy crap. Dungeons, raids. This is an insane. Take a screenshot, guys. I'll move my face out of the way. Whoa. This is a freaking massive chart. Damn. Okay, I'll let the video play.
In Season 2.
It's too much going on here.
Below, and you're free to use it however you like. Use the navigation below to get where you want to go. Like the video if it's helpful. Subscribe for more WoW coverage, and catch me live when I'm streaming. These days, I tend to look at WoW's max level progression like a series of lanes. There's a lane for PvP, for basic world content, and delves, and dungeons, and raids, and crafting. It's a heck of a highway, and the reason I chose lanes is that, well, we're all moving in the same direction. We can switch lanes however we like, or just stick to one.
That's a good way to describe it.
Complete experience.
I mean, the way I always do it is, yeah, delves early on for sure, and then I kind of split my legs and straddle the raids and dungeons for the rest of the time. A little bit of world content, zero PvP or crafting. I don't participate in the crafting system. I don't believe in it. I don't like it. I hate the whole thing. I don't care for anybody to craft me a condom with a chance at a lubricated socket. I don't want that shit. I don't care about it, and I don't need it. So I don't do crafting. And PvP, I mean, if I feel like ruining somebody's day, I'll do that, but I don't really care about it either. Wintergrass was the best PvP
I'm not going
ever.
to talk about PvP gearing as the mindset hasn't changed for a while now. You just queue up for stuff and get going. The one thing everyone's going to do in Season 2, though, is get through the very basics. This includes completing the introduction to get to the new zone Undermined, as well as the questline to set up Season 2 of Delves. The long and short of that is the complete campaign and feature-related quests that use these quest markers.
Right, do those quest
markers
markers
for
for
sure. With this much out of
sure.
the way, all lanes are open, and you'll be able to slide into whatever it is you want to do. World content outside of Delves is a lane most everyone's going to switch on and off, maybe on off nights, maybe to farm up Valor stones. I'll get to farming them up, but first, two basic tips. The first tip is to, well, kind of just deal with the fact that they still exist, and for how much easier and consistent your
servant, we have a realm to destroy.
Dabuge, thank you for the follow, man. Welcome to our Scourge. Everybody is hinting at Valor stones disappearing, and I said it. Ian mentioned it in his interview. Maybe eventually, but they're here to stay for now. So I do agree, though. Valor stones need to go away. It's just it's a silly currency for no reason at this point.
Is, despite what some would claim, we could do a lot worse than doing some side activities. The second tip, or I guess the real tip, is to prioritize how you spend Valor Stones and Crests. Consider the following bullet points not as rules, but tips that'll pay off. Spend currency to upgrade nothing less than hero class gear, or champion gear if you don't play at that high of a level.
Okay.
Spend Valor Stones to create crafting sparks. Beyond that, though, only spend Valor Stones when you're close to capping. For example, to assemble sparks, as I mentioned. I see way too many stories from people who blow tons of resources on upgrades because, they want that quick head start towards getting into groups, only to replace that gear like 1 or 2 nights later, which is great and all, but odds are those resources could have been saved for more worthwhile upgrades.
I totally agree with this, and I got so much shit from chat when we started raiding last season, and I refused to upgrade my gear. You guys even remember in Dragonflight, I did the same strategy. I was like, I'm not upgrading any of this shit gear until I start to get really good heroic gear, and then I'll start upgrading. And everyone's like, Sam, you're falling behind on eye level. Everybody's 10 eye levels ahead of me. Guess what? I literally, like in a single week, once we started to get good heroic gear, I fucking jumped like 20 eye levels because I had everything stocked up. The only time I was spending anything was if I was capping out on Valor stones. Or back then it was, what's it called? Flight stones and shit too in Dragonflight. So that is definitely the strat. Do it. I'm not saying I created the strat. But I did, I kind of pushed it to the forefront. Everyone's stream was bitching me out for doing it, and then it turned out to be a great strat. Big brain plan.
Progressing
Yeah,
towards getting
exactly.
replacement gear to bypass upgrades and spending when
We're
close
playing
to the
chess,
cap
not checkers
helps
here,
to reduce
guys.
that situation as much as possible and makes the most of what you spend. Now, as for where to get Valor Stones, all the old sources are still around, meaning virtually everything you do will give some. With the new zone in Season 2, there are opportunities for even more. Early on, you can complete scrap heap events and shipping and handling jobs for some fairly significant gains on top of weekly caches.
Very nice.
As you gain renown later in the season, and this is especially great for alts, you can complete what are called chet lists fairly quickly for some quick Valorstone income.
This will be really good throughout the entire season. This is new for this patch. A really good way to grind out Valor Stones. As annoying as they are, you do need them early in the season, especially when you're first upgrading things. So, yeah, using this chet list every week will be really good.
Stone income. Meanwhile, the highest level delves give arguably the best source of Valor Stones for time spent. 65 Valor Stones if you fully clear the delve of Nemesis packs and extra mobs found inside. At better gear levels, a delve with an easy story can be cleared out in, something like 10 minutes. If it's a bountiful delve, you'll also score a rating echo to use for even more. Raids are the most straightforward gearing lane outside of PvP. At the start of the season, all raid difficulties will be open, including Mythic and Raid Finder,
all
although
open out
Raid
the
Finder
bat.
difficulty is being split into 4 wings. The item level requirement to queue up is 606, which translates to max level veteran gear or middle champion gear from Season 1.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not 606, you probably just didn't play Season 1, so you'll be able to get in there quick and do at least the first wing of Raid Finder. Our plan is probably jump into normal and then heroic, depending on... I don't know what he did. Did he say what normal drops in terms of item level yet? If we're already past that point, we'll just move on. But if we're not, we'll jump into normal to start. It's the best way to kind of learn the mechanics too.
While in Season 2, it's a little bit into Explorer track here. The first week is going to feel a little bit slow, because only 2 bosses will be available, and there are plenty of other sources of veteran track gear to be found. Expect the awkwardness of running into Raid Finder blind be countered by the extremely high throughput we can expect from progression-minded players who are jumping across all lanes for the fastest gearing.
Right.
We can also expect similar item level progression as we clear the raid, where the final 2 bosses award crests from the current difficulty and the next highest difficulty to help with finishing off veteran track gear.
Right, I will say too, you're going to find a lot more like regular raiders in LFR this time around too, because if they can't get far enough into like heroic raid or normal raid, they can jump in LFR to complete their progression on the renown track for the raid for at least the first week. Because all you got to do really is get halfway through the raid to get your first renown, and then it's locked beyond that every week. Every week you'll be able to get another one. But if you don't get far enough in any single raid tier, you can go ahead and jump into another version of it, and it'll still count towards your renown track. So like killing the first 2 bosses in normal, heroic, and LFR will give you shit towards your track.
Lots of folks are likely to run multiple difficulties early on in an effort to quickly complete tier set bonuses. The Creation Catalyst should work out the same way too, with a charge available week 1 with an additional charge every other week. I'd advise holding on to these charges for as long as you can, and then use them to quickly complete a 2 or a 4 set bonus.
Yeah, for
New
sure.
to the season is a raid-specific renown track that at the moment does not award significant gear upgrades. We don't have information at the moment, but at some point, we should earn up to 2 puzzling cartel chips, used to buy any of the more unique pieces of gear from the raid. The rest of this should feel familiar, with each difficulty dropping higher tracks of gear and
What's up,
higher
Wags?
crests. A number of bosses drop very rare pieces, which are still on the same gear track, just fully upgraded. Dungeon progression has changed a lot since Season 1, so prepare for a little bit of information overload here, and I'll
Okay.
highlight how Mythic Plus has solidified itself as having the sweetest spot for progression gearing.
Oh, for sure. Mythic Plus is always the best right now. And yeah, you're cracking me up, Wags, with your comment. Early morning gamers and all night gamers combined. Yeah, I know there's a night gamers in California watching me, and there's in Australia, and then there's early morning gamers on the what's it called, the East Coast. So yeah, welcome in.
With Mythic Zeros, they've gone back to having a weekly lockout instead of daily, but now drop champion gear as well as carved crests. The season cap for crest still appears to have a scheduled increase of 90 per week, but the crest income follows the more recent changes in Season 1. It's a considerable increase compared to how it was before, in case you took an early break from the War Within. Now let's explore the potential here. If one wants to farm up champion gear, they can just keep running 2s, and will also get hero gear from the vault the following week, and only running 2s or 3s should feel pretty easy. There are no affixes at this level anymore, just the timer to complete. It might be a good idea to just farm here until you earn all you can at the champion level, and you can run 5s if you want to save on Valor stones and crests, because at this level, the champion gear that drops is level 4 out of 8. No carved crest needed, you're just going straight to ruined. Or of
Okay.
course, you can try pushing further for even better gear. The sweet spot that I want to point out are +7 keys. I think
Yeah.
everyone who's progression minded will want to consider this as a milestone to reach for lots of farming. At this level, you're dealing with the Zealot affixes as well as Fortified or Tyrannical, but the Challenger's Peril penalty was pushed all the way to +12s. Clearing a 7 will score you a chance for level 1 hero gear at the end of the dungeon,
Great.
level 4 hero gear from the vault, and here's where you're going to start earning
The Gilded Crest. Yeah, this is why it's such a big deal to do a +7 is getting the Gilded Crest. But this time around, for the first time, you'll be able to get Gilded Crest from Delves too. So pushing the Delves, I don't know, what is it, a +8 or 11 Delve? That's going to give you Gilded Crests now. So getting in and doing the Delves is going to be a big deal too. Basically, Gilded Crests are it. That is the end game for crests, and that's what you want to get.
7s are the fastest way to gear at this
Not enough
item
from
level, of
Delves?
course.
No, but supplemental from Delves. Surely the best way to get crests is going to be Mythic Plus and then rating, and then Delves will be a supplemental thing if you just want to add more crests towards the end of your week.
If keys are your jam. You're going to live here for a while to cap out on Gilded and split this between crafting gear and upgrading good hero gear you've been collecting. Once you feel ready, you can start pushing towards 10s for Myth Track gear and then seesaw back and forth to fill the Great Vault and cap on crests. Season 2 delves are a bit of an experiment, seeing as it's the first time we're seeing delves slide into a new season, not to mention huge changes to the upper tiers. There might be a feeling of depowering as we start the season, as the curios that we earned in Season 1, they're being tossed out, and we'll be earning and powering up new curios.
Right.
Tier 8 delves are still going to be an important goal for delvers as it still awards hero gear from the vault. However, the gear level has dropped a bit. They'll award level 1 hero gear instead of level 3. There's lots of good news though. It'll at least be easy to farm up initial curios in the week before the season begins. The existence of Tank Brand does a lot to help players get through delves with the feel of a reliable partner. Now, Crash Course, he's made for healers, but can be used alongside any role you decide to use, but he will eventually get worn down in a longer fight. But with the nature of delves, I suggest just playing
So he's not a blood DK. He's a little bitch, and he can't handle longer fights. Yeah, Brand's still a bitch. Nothing. Season changes, but some things don't change.
around with them and testing things out for yourself.
Yeah.
Delve tiers 9 through 11 are going to feel useful now, as they're going to start
Let us
dropping
lay
more
waste to this realm.
Cakes, thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge.
crests, up
Fucking
to 13
brand,
of them,
yeah.
for clearing the delve after defeating all the Nemesis packs. These are extra mobs that appear in the delve. The difficulty of these levels has also been reduced a bit to not make these feel like you're always kiting in fear of a one-shot. Clearing a tier 11 bountiful delve with lives remaining will award a gilded chest.
There it is,
containing
yeah, the
7
gilded chest. That's what's
crests.
good for-
These
from
can
delves.
be looted 3 times a week for 21 gilded. On top of that, while only one delver's bounty is now allowed to drop in a given week, it's got a much higher chance of dropping. Not only that, but it doesn't matter where the delver's bounty drops. Before it had to drop from a high tier delve in order to get good use out of it. Now, no matter what tier it drops in, it'll spawn a chest according to the tier you're actually doing.
Nice.
So naturally, we'll want to use a delver's bounty on a tier 11, which will award another 10 gilded.
Yeah.
Now this is really, really good news for
I'd probably save my coffer keys for those too.
solo players. They'll be able to cap on rune crest through delves in a reasonable pace, unlike in Season 1. Up to 31 gilded will be available per week based on the player's performance, to be used, of course, for hero upgrades and crafted gear. So thanks to this, the highest item level available via just delves will be much closer to the highest gear levels found doing raids or dungeons,
Right.
and I'll describe how next. Because we've got to talk about crafting. It's not really a gameplay
Oh,
lane
God.
per se, but forget the analogy here.
Oh, God,
High-level crafts
crafting.
always played a big role since Dragonflight, but in Season 2, it's getting a nice injection of traffic thanks to the Mythic Plus and Delve changes. Mythic Plus folk will arguably
crafting.
start earning gilded sooner and at a faster rate. On the Delve side, eventually players will be able to progress towards Tier 11 Delves. This is thanks to a somewhat decreased difficulty and tank brand, as I mentioned. As they do, they'll start to collect those 31 gilded per week, and it'll be in their interest to reach the capped number of ruined crests. Between that and the collected gear, eventually delvers will graduate from ruined and can start trading them in for another 30 gilded if they farm up to the cap each week. So
Okay.
eventually that's 61 crests per week for delvers. It's more than enough to cover high level crafts and upgrade other hero track gear they run into, and this is without entering a single raid or dungeon. Your crafting decision
I know crafting is such a good way to fill out some slots and to get some biz here and there, but I just hate doing it, man. I just don't like it. I did the whole first season, never got a piece of crafted gear.
might not be so
So
straightforward.
if you want to do it that way, you can
Weapons
do it
and
that
other
way.
items from the raid's later bosses have a special cantrip effect that deals damage over time, it
Yes.
stacks, and it never expires. These weapons cover...
There are a lot of cantrip-related items in this patch. I don't know, Blizzard went all out on them, which is great, actually. I love cantrip items. It changes how you do things a little bit, makes the looting of the item more exciting. So keep a watch out for those in Raid.
many, but not all classes, although
Explains
at
a
the
lot.
moment,
Sam too
damage is
lazy to
pretty
craft,
low,
yeah.
even after some recent hotfixes.
Basically.
The nature of the effect suggests a kind of soft nerf when more and more people get this gear, but it doesn't seem very useful outside of raids. Between these and the puzzling cartel ships, whenever those come into play, our first piece of crafted gear might not automatically be our weapons, but the rate at which the best crafts will be made is being positioned to happen faster. And for the really hardcore gearheads, it might be worth considering crafting PvP weapons like in Season 1, assuming they repeat the quest that gives PvP resources to make a strong first weapon. Another thing to
Okay.
note, the achievement for having completed AOTC or Keystone Master and Gladiator no longer gives a token for heroic tier gear, but instead a catalyst charge.
Right.
Now, this is going to hit different depending on your playstyle. Top players in any lane is going to feel kind of a loss of agency in their gearing speed. On the flip side, they get a charge faster. It means they can use this to create a mythic tier set piece, making this a more long-term boon than a short-term boost. Those who jump across every lane for gear might not notice this too much because they'll earn more gear overall, and they can just save one of their pieces to use that extra charge on. And folks who progress more casually sometimes didn't get any use out of these at all because they already earned equivalent gear some other way, and the thinking gets all over the place when we start considering alts. All of us are different. Some of us are going to stay in our lane, others will jump between two or more for the sake of efficient gearing or for entertainment. Here I'm going to blueprint what I think is an optimal gearing path for progression folk who jump between lanes. When the season starts, in no particular order, jump into Raid Finder for chances at veteran gear and tier, and complete weekly quests for 4 pinnacle chests and the equivalent for more veteran pieces or in coffer keys. Complete the PvP season starter quest if it's available, and craft whatever's to your
This
liking.
is the optimal but not too sweaty way of doing things. So we want to be sweaty. Come on, get rid of this shit.
Then head into non-bountiful delves and progress to tier 8, after which you can start using bountiful keys. Ideally, if a Delver's bounty drops, save that until you can start clearing 11s with lives remaining so you can get the max amount of gilded along with the gilded chest. If you raid, knock out your raiding for the week and then fill out the rest of your time progressing into Mythic Plus until you can start getting into 7s. Of
Okay.
course, if you're able to dive straight into keys, hey, go for it. I'm just pointing out there are some early guaranteed gearing opportunities.
Right.
For example, maybe it's a good idea to farm delves until the 31 gilded doesn't feel like a good use of your time. And consider the following rule from earlier. Don't spend
Farming the delves is certainly a less toxic way to do this, right? Look, going into a +7 or a, key off the bat, you're gonna find if you're not used to that shit, it's gonna be very toxic. It's gonna be difficult, probably. This season's supposed to be easier, so it's not supposed to be like what last season was. But it's a rude awakening for a lot of people who aren't used to doing that.
Valor stones because you have them.
Professionals like me, I mean, we just go to +11 like off the bat. Just dip it. We don't dip the toe, and you dip the dick into the water. You don't give a shit. But I'm just saying, like, all the regular people out there.
Spend them because you're close to the cap. That's going to mean only applying upgrades to gear you're likely to hold on for a few weeks,
Always
ignoring
use
everything weaker than, say,
another
champion
Death
gear,
Knight.
Myth, 6 months, Prime and Death Knight of our Scourge. Thank you, man.
and only using Rune Crest or higher. I'd suggest planning on what gear you want to craft first and save your Gilded Crest for that over upgrades. 60 Gilded and 250 Valor Stones to skip all the way over to Myth Track gear, it's a pretty good investment. Ultimately, prioritize your Gilded Crest for best in slot gear, followed by crafted gear, replacing them as you start to earn Mythic Track pieces.
Sure.
My personal plan is going to be a bit different. I happen to raid every week, but we sort of take our time getting into heroic raids, and I don't make regular visits to dungeons, or that is, I don't use it as a gearing lane. My routine is going to focus on delves. That means working my way towards 11s very quickly and using the crest.
This is kind of what I did in the first season, was like working on delves early on, and then once delves kind of fell off for me, it was just, raiding and some Mythic Plus.
Income to make a myth crafted piece every other week. I'm going to focus my non-gilded upgrades on tier slots and trinkets and plan on using Circe's Circlet throughout the entire season. My aim is to obtain hero pieces for my tier set pieces and trinkets, and I'll settle for max upgraded champion gear, or I guess the hero equivalent, because I'm going to replace those pieces with myth crafted gear later, and once I start building in excess, I'll go back and finish upgrades on my tier pieces. Once crest caps are lifted, I'll finish maxing out my item level, and then focus on transmog unlocks and lots of Valor Stone farming. Overall, gearing is going to be
real.
very fast this season. For Delvers, there's a bit of a speed bump with the hero gear from Delve Vaults being nerfed, but the easier access to myth-crafted gear makes up for it in the long term. In case you need more information, my gearing poster should give you all the information you need, and it's updated
This
as
thing is
needed throughout the
unbelievable.
season.
It's impressive.
Using it's pretty simple. You just need to refer to the top header and left-hand column, look for the item level you desire, and then go down to the activity you're interested in. Or go the other way, focus on your activity, and then see where all the item level stuff comes from. That about covers everything, and I
Damn.
hope this helps. If so, like the video, share it with others, subscribe for more WoW coverage, catch me live, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.
That we will. Great video. Nice gearing guide there, you know, for this not so sweaty and the sweaty. There's plenty of ways to play it out and plenty of ways to gear out, and that's the good thing about this season. And hopefully, it'll be a better season of Mythic Plus. Nice video.